This module continues to focus our drawing on how a relationship and proximity of marks can challenge our viewer to assemble the illusion of form and shape. The marks are purposefully composed in a manner that simultaneously draws upon associations of a three-dimensional sensibility on a two-dimensional surface. Moving away from portraiture, artists of the 19th and 20th century explored the behaviors of our optic nerve and relationships of drawing zones to assemble forms on a two-dimensional plane. As photography advanced rapidly into the 20th century, artists began to explore other aspects of drawing and painting that were less about the illusionary space of realism and more about a celebration of the flatness and visual behaviors of marks defining forms on a two-dimensional surface. Many of these reveal a kinship to the way photography and sculpture evoke light and shadow. And yet with a drawing, there is a freedom to bend rigid scientific laws of light, shadow, and form in the playground of the imagination. Photography, in a sense, revealed unopened doors to artists to experiment with a new identity and then to recognize shared visual behaviors that enlisted the viewer's sense of the world, space, and experience to provide visual closure, to assimilate the different, perhaps disconnected elements into recognizable shapes and forms, both of the real and abstract variety. Look carefully at this pair of figures in profile. The figure on the left is a traditional silhouette form made of marks inside a contour edge, like a coloring book. The figure on the right alternates dark marks with white spaces to challenge the eye to assimilate form from the interchange of positive and negative. The late 19th century philosophers of Gestalt theory proposed that forms stimulate visual closure via associations to the real and through a visual connection and proximity of optic events. They identified these as figure-ground relationships. Look closely at this image by 19th century painter Georges Seurat, so often associated with the color blending of his pointillist paintings and their own optic blending of color. See here how Seurat also bent light to his whim, using the figure-ground relationships of alternating light and shadow to fill form and create the closure of visual connections around the figure. Moving into the 20th century, we see how artist K. T. Kollwitz enlisted a similar method of positive-negative interchange. Her dramatic prints and drawings reflected her adult life in war-torn Europe. With your black pens and the space frame template from the earlier modules, identify the simplest of objects in space, a bowl of fruit, cup of coffee, or your breakfast to attempt separating cropped elements for your scenes. Consider how alternating currents of positive-negative interchange, where negative space and the black pen tips of field marks abut each other to create edges, walls, subdivisions, cavities, light, shadow, form, space, and tension. Notice if you can challenge the familiar methods of contrast to invite this more complex drawing device into your dynamic marks. See if you can do it so often to make it second nature. These should be fluid, spontaneous inventions in drawing moments. As with earlier drawings, use simple or everyday objects as your subjects. Add dramatic lighting from a desk lamp to accentuate sculptural effect to observe and relate to your drawings. Be patient to notice how light wraps around a three-dimensional subject. There is no need for precious work here. You might even change the lighting midway on a single drawing to alter the reality of your observed subject on the paper. Photographers and graphic designers also enjoy mystifying viewers with the effects of positive-negative interchange and figure ground. Many Macintosh computer owners received this batch of images with their computer models as a screensaver option. And this infamous photograph taken by Edward Steichen in 1902 of the sculptor Auguste Rodin uses multiple exposures and separately photographed elements of the master in his studio to create the appropriate narrative of the artist's inventions and reflections. Figure ground is a dynamic addition to the drawer's palette and can be applied across 2- and 3-dimensional works to reveal and manipulate magical eye scan and revelatory changing zones of visual interest for the viewer.